Okay, it's time for me to prove you creationists wrong. Argument 1. If humans evolved from apes, then why are there still apes? Well, that argument's pretty stupid in a way, because if you think about it, the reason why we evolved in the first place from apes is because we adapted to our surroundings. There are no apes today who go around flat surfaces. They all live in jungles, habitable areas. The first reason why apes evolved to become us is because they ventured out beyond the surroundings that they were used to, beyond the weather conditions, beyond certain types of food that they ate, and that's why we evolved in the first place. Nowadays, however, because migration has occurred over millions and millions of years, there is no more explorable part of the world which apes can venture into. Therefore, evolution cannot occur further except through us, because we are the ones exploring. There are no more apes that can change their environment, because we're controlling where they go, which habitats they stay into. Argument 2. You cannot test evolution. It requires millions of years. Evolution is not testable, therefore it cannot be a theory. Well, that's actually wrong, because you can test evolution, and even if you couldn't test it, that doesn't mean to say that it doesn't exist. For example, the first thing, evolution does occur. For example, there was a scientist, I think, from a movie, from the documentary that we watched, who found moths, who found mice living in the desert. Now, they go on the orange, dusty part of the desert, so they're kind of a straw-colored. However, the mice that you find on the other side, they're the same species. He examined them, and they were the same species. The thing is, they were a different color. Now, how do you explain that? Well, you explain it because it's evolution. It's natural selection, so the mice are adapting to the color of the rocks, so in turn they change their color. Another example, the peppered moths in London. The white moths used to be able to camouflage amongst the buildings, but when the buildings turned black, then they had no choice but to adapt or to die out, survival of the fittest again. So this does prove that evolution is testable, and it is a theory. Have you ever witnessed evolution? Where is your proof? Well, you don't have, like I said before, you don't have to see something for it to exist. For example, our jaws are very much like our ancestors, the apes, and research on the human anatomy has shown that towards the lower half of our back there is in fact a tailbone, and it has been proven that it actually has been evolved. It's like a stub from the tail that an ape has. Also, if you compare the genes between us humans and apes, they are, I think, 95% or even higher similar. Like, we have the exact same genes. It's just that 2% or 2 to 5% that isn't. So this shows that we are very similar in common. And like Darwin said, how can God create creatures that are so similar yet different in slight ways? Well, the answer is he didn't. It's through the process of evolution. Argument 4. Life just couldn't have happened by random chance. There must have been an intelligent creator. Well, firstly, if you're talking about life when it started, it is right. It did happen by random chance. There were some substances, calcium, oxygen, nitrogen, in the mass of water on Earth, and something had stirred it up. Something had given it energy. We don't know, but maybe it was lightning that stirred it up, that gave it the energy it needed to fuse together to create the first amino acid. And from there on, it developed and produced the first organism, and of course evolution started from there. And it is right, it did happen by random chance. Evolution is a natural process, but over time it is random as to what adapted from that. So all the organisms you see today did occur naturally, but they only turned out to have those exact genetic traits by random chance, by non-random mating, by mutation, by natural selection, by gene flow, by genetic drift. All of these processes mean that over millions and millions of years, such organisms come to inhabit the earth. Argument 5. No new species have been produced, therefore evolution is not true. Well, even if it wasn't true, we still have evidence from the past of monkeys evolving into humans. We have fossils to prove that they did that evolution has occurred, and even today we have organisms that are adapting to their environments. The peppered moth, like I mentioned. Certain species are being formed that are a mixture, genetic drift or gene flow. For example, the mule is a mixture between a donkey and a horse. And also evolution is happening all the time. For example, Darwin's finches, they have adapted over time, and we do have proof of new species adapting to their environments through phenotypes or genotypes that produce new organisms. So actually evolution is true, and that statement is wrong. Final argument. Since education is a process of learning all sides of an issue, it is appropriate for both creationism and evolution to be taught side by side in school classrooms. Not to do so is a violation of the philosophy of education and of the civil liberties of creationists. Well, first, let's see what education really is. Education is you can probably best describe it as learning, but is it just learning? It's learning what is right, okay? And if you think about it, it's been proven time and time again that there cannot be two origins of life. There has to be one origin. They cannot be taught side by side, so we have to determine which one is right and which one is wrong. Now, there's numerous information to prove that evolution is indeed the right path, that is indeed the right, possibly right, origin of life. It's not my job to contradict creationists, so I'm just going to explain why evolution is the right path. Well, firstly, we have fossil evidence over millions and millions of years. Apes have adapted to their environments, adapted to new diets, new weather conditions, and over time, humans have evolved from that. The causes of evolution, genetic drift, gene flow, non-random mating, mutation, natural selection, they're all random factors that determine which genetic traits get passed on down generations and what evolves from them. No God could have created organisms that are so diverse, but also within same species, organisms that are slightly different depending on their genetic traits. It's all to do with science. For example, the giant tortoises that Darwin discovered, each island had a different shell pattern, and that was because of natural selection. Darwin's finches, also because of natural selection, their diet determined what kind of beak they had. Our tailbones are also, scientists have proven, have evolved from monkeys' tails. The gills in a fish used to be the inner ear, which has adapted over time to become what it is today. So here's numerous arguments to prove that you creationists are actually wrong, and what you really should be teaching in schools is evolution. Thank you, and you are wrong.